You work hard, watch your diet, train with discipline, but your abs still don't show. And the frustration only grows when the fat starts to go away, but the six-pack stays hidden. Don't worry, it's not a lack of effort, it's just a lack of the right strategy. Most people make the same mistake. They think planks or leg raises will do the trick, but those exercises only strengthen the core. They don't build real muscle volume. And without that volume, your abs won't pop, even at a low body fat percentage. Today I'm going to show you the only two exercises that actually activate and grow your abs like any other muscle. They're simple, accessible, and they work, even if you've never had definition before. The secret lies in the right movements and proper execution. And if you want to take this even further, I have an exclusive guide we created especially for you, with a complete step-by-step strategy. But heads up, it will only be available for a short time, so take advantage while you still can. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but Joe, I've heard you can't really make your abs bigger. For years, people have treated ab training differently to everything else. They've focused on high reps, body weight stuff, and just feeling a burn. But let's look at what the science says, because the evidence is brilliant. Researchers have actually studied this, and the results are super encouraging. They wanted to see if direct ab training could cause hypertrophy, which is the proper sciencey term for muscle growth. And guess what? It absolutely can. The idea that abs are different and can't grow is just a myth. One particular study that gets me really excited looked at a group of well-trained athletes. These weren't beginners. These were people who were already fit and active. The researchers had them follow a dedicated ab training program for several weeks, and they used clever ultrasound technology to measure the thickness of their ab muscles before and after. The results were clear as day. After the training period, the athletes had a measurable increase in the thickness of their rectus abdominis muscle, which is your main six-pack muscle. It wasn't a huge, dramatic change, but it was real, significant growth. This is massive. It proves that by training your abs with resistance, you can make them thicker and more visible. Just like doing squats makes your legs stronger and bigger, doing the right ab exercises will make your abs grow. This completely backs up the idea that getting a great set of abs isn't just about fat loss. It shows that the work you put in at the gym or on your living room floor directly contributes to building that blocky, defined look we're all after. It gives us a proper, science-backed reason to train our abs hard and consistently. So let's throw out that old idea that ab training is just for toning. We're not just toning, we're building. This research gives us the green light to treat our abs like any other muscle group. They respond to training, they respond to resistance, and they can grow. This shift in mindset is the first step towards getting the results you really want. You have to believe that the work you're putting in is actually building muscle, because it is. Every crunch, every leg raise, when done properly, is a step towards building a stronger, thicker, and more visible set of abs. It's proper science, and it's brilliant. Right, let's talk about one of the most common exercises people do for their abs, the plank. Don't get me wrong, the plank is a fantastic exercise. It's brilliant for building what we call core strength and stability. Holding a plank engages a whole bunch of deep muscles around your spine, like the transverse abdominis, which acts like a natural weightlifting belt for your body. This is super important for protecting your back, improving your posture, and helping you lift heavier and safer in all your other exercises. So, planks definitely have a place in a well-rounded fitness routine. However, and this is a big however, if your main goal is to build those visible, blocky six-pack abs, planks are not the most effective tool for the job. Why? Because a plank is an isometric exercise. That means you're holding the muscle in a static position without moving it through its full range of motion. Think about it. When you do a bicep curl, you shorten the muscle, the concentric part, and then you lengthen it, the eccentric part. This movement through a full range is what creates the tiny micro tears in the muscle fibers that lead to growth. Planks just don't do this for your six-pack muscle. The rectus abdominis, your main six-pack muscle, has one primary job: to flex your spine. That means it's designed to bring your ribcage and your pelvis closer together. It's a crunching motion. When you're holding a plank, you're actively trying not to flex your spine. You're trying to keep it perfectly straight and rigid. So, while you are using the muscle to create tension and stability, you're not taking it through that full shortening and lengthening cycle that is so crucial for hypertrophy or muscle growth. You're building endurance in the muscle, but you're not giving it the best stimulus to get thicker. So while I'm a big fan of planks for overall core health, we need to be clear about what they do and what they don't do. They build strength and stability, which is fantastic, but they are not an efficient way to build visible, blocky abs. For that, we need exercises that actively move the spine and contract the ab muscles through their full range of motion. We need dynamic movements, not static holds. Understanding this difference is key to designing an ab workout that actually works for building a six-pack, not just for building a strong, stable core. Okay team, this next point is so important. It's probably the single biggest mistake I see people make when they're training their abs, and it's holding so many of you back from seeing the results you deserve. For years we've been told to keep our backs flat during exercises to protect our spine, and in many movements like squats or deadlifts, that's absolutely correct. But when it comes to training your rectus abdominis, your six-pack muscle, keeping your back flat is the opposite of what you want to do. It actually stops the muscle from working properly. Let's go back to the main function of that six-pack muscle. Its job is to flex the spine. It pulls your sternum down towards your pelvis. This means to get a proper, powerful contraction in your abs, you must round your back. You have to allow your spine to bend. If you keep your back completely straight and flat during a crunch or a leg raise, you're not really using your abs to create the movement. Instead, you're using other muscles, mainly your hip flexors, to do all the work. You might feel a burn, but it's not in the right place. Think about doing a crunch. If you lie on the floor and just lift your shoulders up a few inches, while keeping your lower back pressed flat into the ground, you're not getting much ab activation. The real magic happens when you focus on peeling your spine off the floor, vertebra by vertebra, trying to bring your ribs towards your hips. This intentional rounding is what shortens the ab muscles and gives you that deep, intense contraction. Keeping your back flat turns a great ab exercise into a not-so-great hip flexor exercise, which can even lead to a tight lower back for some people. So, I want you to completely change your mindset. When you're doing a crunching movement, I want you to think round your back. Embrace the curve. Focus on the squeeze in your abs as you crunch. It's not about how high you can lift your shoulders or your legs. It's about how much you can shorten the distance between your ribs and your pelvis by flexing your spine. This is the difference between just going through the motions and actually stimulating muscle growth. Once you master this, I promise you, your ab workouts will become 10 times more effective. Right, let's get into the good stuff. The first exercise I want you to master is the reverse crunch. This move is absolutely brilliant for targeting the lower portion of your abs. While you can't technically isolate the lower abs completely, this exercise places a much greater emphasis on that area, and it's fantastic for building that defined V-shape at the bottom of your stomach. The key to making this exercise work is that spinal flexion we just talked about. It's not a leg lift, it's a hip lift, driven by your abs rounding your lower back. Here's how you do it properly. Lie flat on your back on a mat. You can place your hands by your sides on the floor for a bit of stability. Bend your knees to about a 90-degree angle and lift your feet off the floor. This is your starting position. Now, instead of thinking about swinging your legs, I want you to think about using your lower abs to pull your knees in towards your chest. As you do this, you must allow your hips and your lower back to lift up off the floor. You're trying to roll your pelvis up towards your rib cage. The most important part of the movement is that lift. If your hips stay glued to the floor, you're just using your hip flexors to pull your knees in. The ab work happens when you get that spinal flexion, when you feel your lower back rounding as you curl your hips up. At the top of the movement, give your abs a real squeeze for a second. Then, this is just as important, control the movement on the way back down. Don't just let your hips and legs flop back to the start. Lower yourself slowly, feeling your abs working to control the descent. This focus on control and spinal rounding is what makes the reverse crunch so powerful. It's a very deliberate, focused movement. You're not trying to use momentum. You are trying to feel every inch of the contraction in your lower abs. The goal is to make your abs do all the work, from initiating the lift to controlling the return. It might feel strange at first if you're used to just swinging your legs, but once you get the hang of lifting your hips, you will feel an incredible connection with your lower abs that you just can't get from other exercises. Section 6. Level up your reverse crunch from beginner to pro. One of the best things about the reverse crunch is that you can easily make it easier or harder to match your fitness level. This is brilliant because it means you can keep making progress, which is the key to muscle growth. We call this progressive overload. So, if you're a complete beginner and finding it tough to lift your hips, don't worry, we've got a starting point for you. And if you're more advanced and need a bigger challenge, we can level it up to keep those abs working hard and getting stronger. For beginners, the main challenge is often just getting the hips to lift off the floor. A great way to start is by reducing the range of motion. Just focus on the initial part of the movement, a small pelvic tilt. Lie in the starting position and just practice pressing your lower back into the floor and then trying to lift your tailbone just an inch. You can also make it easier by keeping your knees bent more, bringing them closer to your chest. The less your legs are extended, the less load your abs have to lift, making the movement more manageable while you learn the proper form. Once you've mastered the basic version and can do it with perfect form, it's time to make it more challenging. The easiest way to do this is to perform the exercise on an incline bench. Set up a bench with a slight incline and lie on it with your head at the high end, holding onto the bench behind your head for support. Now when you perform the reverse crunch, you're not only lifting your hips and legs, but you're also working against gravity, which adds a lot more resistance. This is a fantastic way to overload the muscle. For the true pros out there who find the incline version easy, you can add even more resistance. You can hold a small dumbbell between your feet to increase the weight your abs have to lift. Or my personal favorite for an extra challenge is to focus on a really slow negative. This means you perform the upward curling part of the movement as normal, but you take a full 3 to 5 seconds to slowly lower your hips back down. This eccentric control creates a massive amount of tension in the abs and is absolutely incredible for stimulating muscle growth.